Obviously, yesterday morning, very early, I believe I got the call around 1:30 or so. The horrific incident occurred at the Cameo Night Club. But what I'd like to say is that our joint effort between CPD and fire was spectacular. Their response was quick, it was very comprehensive, and I'm very convinced that absent their actions and the speed of their actions, it might have been a worse situation. So I commend both the fire department and the police department, and have absolute confidence that we'll get to the bottom of it very quickly, and hopefully there will be no additional loss of life in terms of the individuals who are currently in the hospital, but we're monitoring that situation as well. So at this time, I will turn it over to Chief Isaac, and obviously we will be here to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'd like to start with, again, offering my thoughts and prayers to the victims of this horrific incident, and pray for a speedy recovery, and the condolences to the Spikes family for the loss of their loved one. As Mr. Black mentioned, early morning, approximately 1:30 a.m. on Saturday, our police communications section received calls about shots being fired with multiple injuries inside the Cameo Night Club located at 4601 Kellogg Avenue in District 2. We had officers on scene as approximately 200 patrons of the establishment began to exit the club. Information was received that shots were fired with multiple injuries. What we know from the investigation at this time is that we believe the incident began from a dispute amongst several individuals inside the nightclub. The incident escalated to shots being fired. We believe that there were multiple individuals that fired shots, with a total of 17 individuals receiving injuries. I know it's been reported that there have been a total of 16, including one fatality. Yesterday evening, we had another individual come forward stating that he was also struck by gunfire, so now that total is 17 individuals that have been struck by gunfire as a result of this incident. As you mentioned, Mr. Chair, the individual that was pronounced dead at the scene, Mr. O'Brien Spikes. Currently, of the other individuals that were struck by gunfire, we know that 5 are still hospitalized, 2 of which are in very critical condition, and 3 others still in very serious condition. As I mentioned before, we did have officers working the parking lot security on the establishment, and the internal security from the nightclub is responsible for securing the persons as they enter the building. And also, we've received information that it is their normal protocol to wand individuals with a metal detector or provide a pat down, whichever they choose to do. Currently, the investigation is being handled by our criminal investigation section, the homicide unit. The investigation is progressing. We've had a number of individuals come forward, a number of individuals call Crime Stoppers. I want to continue to encourage people to call and come forward. There's still much work to be done, and also offer our new CCRO program, our witness advocacy program, for those individuals that were involved in this, to provide support once we bring this to a resolution and make an apprehension of the individuals involved. There's also much work to still be done. I can say that the investigation is progressing. There are a number of things that we're still trying to to sort out, and I don't want to say too much that may compromise the investigation at this point. But after I believe Chief Braun shares, I will try to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Again, from our department, the thoughts and prayers of all of our firefighters go out to the families. Tremendous tragedy. It's one of them that we plan for and practice for, and that is one thing that happened Saturday night, that our members went to work professionally. They did what they needed to do under very difficult situations, including triaging all of the patients that are there, which is very difficult under any circumstance, and getting the patients transported as quickly as possible, stabilizing them, transporting them. I'd also like to thank Anderson Township, which shows how our mutual aid should work. They sent 3 medic units down. They're right there, very close, along with one of their chief officers. And it was an incident that, from chaos again, that we had to bring a semblance of normalcy. And we did just that, and along with the police officers, which did a great job providing assistance for us as we went in. And with that, we will again go over the incident time and again to see if there is room for improvement, as we always do. But from everybody, from our chiefs who are in charge, our EMS supervisors, especially the officer, our first EMS officer on the scene, and the officers from 18s on Wilmer did an outstanding job. They had to make quick decisions on, we need to get in and we need to start triaging, and they did just that. And it was one of the things that could help to save some of the lives.
There have been, Chief, questions regarding the number of off-duty detail personnel on the scene, and implications, which I reject, that those officers were inside of the club at the time of the shooting. Can you talk a little bit about what is an off-duty detail, first, so the public understands what that is, and the number of officers that were there that night?
This is a very large establishment, and with a very large parking lot. As per our protocol for any liquor permit premise, officers are not permitted to work inside the establishment. For any of the liquor permit premises that we work throughout the city, we only provide parking lot and exterior security for that. These officers, when we say an off-duty detail, these officers are not on their normal shift where they are compensated by the city. This is in their off-duty times where they are basically contracted by a private vendor to provide security outside. On this particular incident, and that's precisely what they were doing, none of our officers were working inside this. We do not provide, per se, a service of being a bouncer in a liquor permit premise.
And we can assume, Chief, that at the time of the incident, when it occurred, those officers have the power and authority to respond.
In that, absolutely. That is their obligation. They're sworn, and that's precisely what these officers did. They immediately responded inside to ensure that there were no additional shots being fired, to ensure that any potential threat would be neutralized or dealt with, and then to get other resources here and provide aid as quickly as possible. It's also my understanding that our officers provided aid to those injured individuals until fire resources were called in and able to respond.
And Chief, from all information that you have, do you feel like you are getting the full cooperation of the owner at this point?
From this point, yes. We'll, as the investigation proceeds, we'll make those determinations as we move forward.
But I'm asking the question as it relates to this investigation, this tragedy.
Anything, my understanding, anything we've asked for, he's provided.
And has cameos been an issue in the past, from information that you are gathering?
From the information that I have, there have been incidents, and I know at times, that's something that we have to focus on throughout the city. Any types of incidents, or particularly violence, that occurs in any liquor permit premise.
And my next question, and I'm just clarifying a few points that I'm hearing so that the public understands that those officers who were there on that off-duty detail in the parking lot, which we now have established that's where they should have been. They should not have been inside of the facility due to a liquor license. Were they in uniform or were they in plain clothes?
They're in uniform. These are uniformed patrol officers.
And those officers that night, did they have cruisers on the scene, or were
I believe they did have one or two police vehicles there.
And have we established, Chief, if there were multiple shooters or one shooter, or and if I ask you a question that you are uncomfortable answering?
I believe that there, by the number of shots fired, there was more than one.
And for the committee, as you answer these questions, are you feeling comfortable in the investigation it's moving along that we will successfully be able to identify who was involved?
I'm very confident that we will. As I mentioned, the investigation is progressing, and I'm very confident that we will find those that are responsible for this.
And Chief Isaac, are you getting a sense that the community is cooperating?
Yes, I have no indication otherwise, but again, I want to continue to encourage anyone. As we said, we believe that there were a couple of hundred people here on the night that this occurred, and all the information that we received certainly helps the investigation. And those that have information, we need them to be willing to come in and be actual witnesses to verify and prosecute those responsible.
So, reiterating, there are people that left the scene who we might not have been able to communicate with, interview, gather information. We certainly would like them to cooperate and come forward. 352-3040, reach out to the police department. We want their testimony so that you all can do your best in piecing together what occurred.
Absolutely.